Hi friends, so this is my room in California. Yes, I'm back home. Today I'm just going to do a video about Yonsei and my experience in Korea, so stay tuned if you want to hear all about my classes and just like experiences and advice for if you go to Korea as well. So I went to Yonsei for the KLI program, which is the Korean Language Institute, and I went to Yonsei without any knowledge of Korean at all. Like, I took French in high school, I don't know. So it definitely was really difficult at first because they went really fast, and it was like 4 hours a day, and we learned the sounds of letters, like learning how to read in the first like couple of days, and then numbers in like a day or two. That was definitely a lot to do at first, and I was really worried about the class, but trust me, if you're struggling at the beginning, it does get easier. Especially once you learn like the structure of the class, because it's pretty much the same every single day. So here I have the books. Each day in my class, we always started off with the vocab and grammar books. So I had 2 teachers a day. I started off with vocab and grammar with the first teacher, and basically what we would do is we'd start by reading like this little dialogue very quickly in class. So it would always start off with one of those. You'd like listen to it and then try reading it yourself. And then, you know, there'd usually be some type of vocab with like pictures and stuff that you can go over very quickly. And then you definitely do have to study these words by yourself after class. And then after that, the teacher would teach us the grammar. So my teacher always had a PowerPoint for the grammar, and then just kind of spoke about them in her own words, and then we'd write notes on them. So the beginning of class is for vocab, and then also just practicing a little bit of like dialogue reading or practice from the day before. And then we'd follow in with the grammar lesson. So I can show you what kind of my notes looked like for grammar. It's pretty structured. Like, usually there's some type of formula for how to form whatever sentence pattern that we're learning for that day, and then there'd be a new grammar the next day. And you just kind of like do exercises on those PowerPoints, and they'd explain it pretty well, but then like you could also ask questions. But the thing about the class at Yonsei is that it's fully taught in Korean, so if you want to ask a question, you should know how to say it in Korean, which was a little bit difficult at the beginning of class when I didn't know any Korean. So I'd just kind of sit there and be like, I don't know how to ask a question. I also don't know if this is the right homework, and I felt like weird about asking, but you can always just talk the teacher or a fellow classmate, and they should be able to answer your questions, so do not worry. After that first part of class with the first teacher, we would have a second teacher who covered 2 books, which would be this yellow book, and then after that the pink book. So the yellow book was speaking and writing, and how she would do it is, again, there's like a little dialogue here. We'd read through that and like take turns just practicing reading and pronunciation. So there's always just like a little fill in the blank kind of dialogue that makes you try to think of words yourself and like apply it to a passage, kind of like this, like, oh, whoever Juangxi, and then blah 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 blah. You can fill in a different name and then put a different activity, whatever. So I thought that was really helpful, and again, these like lessons would get steadily harder as you go on. This one is from level 2, so don't worry, it's definitely easier in the beginning of class. So yeah, now for the second one, so we do that for about an hour, and then we'd move on to the listening and reading. So this is where you really get to practice reading passages, which I thought like my reading of passages got so much better after taking the Yonsei class. So there'd always be like a yellow box that shows like a nice long juicy passage for you to read in front of the class, which makes you, you know, read better for me, because like I didn't want to embarrass myself, so I had to practice before class. Now the teachers say that you should practice reading the passage before coming to class, and I didn't really do that at the beginning, but then moving forward in the class, I did practice every day, like the next class's passage, and that really helped me read fluently when I was in class and not embarrass myself. So highly recommend that you do that. And everyone just took turns in class, so she'd be like, oh, Yuki, you go first. And then Yuki would read the passage, and then after that, it's like, who would want to go next? And then you read the passage, and then everyone has to read the passage in class. So after that, there are like usually questions or something that you would either volunteer to answer or get picked to answer. And then here's what a listening lesson kind of looks like. So you'd start by like the first activity, you'd listen to a speaker from like an audio recording saying questions like, this person did this thing at this place, and then you have to like match this person doing this activity at the place or something like that, you know? So you listen and then do kind of like a matching activity usually, or there's activities where you have to like put the number of the order that speaker said things in, you know? So lots of little activities, maybe like 4 or 5 each lesson, yeah? So in class we'd really just go like one by one practicing just speaking and pronunciation, which I think was a good way to do it because it really ensures that you get the practice in and that you are kind of forced to participate. After class I would get lunch and then come back and do my homework for like a couple hours. And the homework was always the same for like my classes, so let me see if I can, I don't know, I think it was different for all teachers, but this is how my homework usually looked. So you start by writing out the 대화, so the dialogue for that day, and then after that you would make your own with about like 4 sentences. And for this part, you'd just like incorporate whatever vocab or lessons that you learned that day. And then you would make 1 or 2 sentences with the grammar that you learned for that day. And that was about it for the first teacher. And then sometimes the second teacher gave me homework, and then sometimes she didn't. But when she did, it was usually in the back of like one of these books that just have, or like workbook exercises, so I do like a page or 2 of those and then I was done. But aside from assigned homework, you are supposed to kind of go over the vocab and go over the lessons that you learned, as well as like read the passage to make sure that you're prepared for the next day. I will say, like in my Korean language class, so it was all online on Zoom, and a lot of the people weren't even in Korea, so I wouldn't really expect to make friends through your class. I know like some of my other friends kind of did, but that probably won't be where you're making most of your friends. I don't know for sure in your case, but that's how it was for me. Yeah, a lot of them were like a lot older too. I know like in my level 1 class, there was someone who was like getting married. And then in my friend's level 2 class, there was like someone having a child. So I don't know, I was like one of the youngest people. Yeah, so hopefully that gives you like an idea of what the KLI program is like at Yonsei. But if you have any questions about like academics, just leave them down below and I'll try my best to answer them. But I was only in the Korean language program. I don't really know about the rest of the school, so you can try to Google the rest if you can. So next, I guess I will talk about just the social aspects of Yonsei. So I stayed in the SK Global dorms, and most of my friends also were staying there. The friends that I made, like, we met in the lobby of like SK Global. We met a couple when we were getting tested for the coronavirus. And then our group just slowly built and built as like we met people and they introduced us to more people. So just try to be as outgoing as possible in the beginning and like talk to people in your elevator, talk to people in the lobby who seem interesting, and you can ask them like, oh, are you from out of town, like where are you from, or like you can ask them if they're also in the KLI program and like kind of get the ball rolling, see if they're new, see if they want to get lunch with you. I don't know. There are a lot of different places to go in the Shinchan area, so you can always ask people if they want to like come with you, and then you can see if you're compatible friends. But as you meet people, as I met people, our group started to grow. So it started like a couple people, and then they introduced me to more people, and then it just worked out. I had a lot of people who were from Cornell, but they were international students that were doing the Study Way program that was only available to like the international students. So they lived in Korea or Japan or Singapore for like all their life, and then they were gonna go to Cornell for university. So at the international schools, they learned English and they were also like fluent in Korean. So that was kind of helpful that they could communicate with me, but then they also knew Korean, so it was easier to get around. So next, we'll talk about the pandemic and like what that's like in Korea. So, it honestly wasn't that bad. Like there would be points where it'd get worse and then points where it was better and you could do more stuff. But during the winter months, definitely like as people were getting more sick and like it's just cold outside, there were more cases, and you honestly didn't really want to go outside anyways because it was like snowy and cold and you had to put on all these layers. So I'm not really a winter person. I realized that in Korea, even though I ski a lot, like it's not the same. So in Korea, I think they do a really good job of dealing with the coronavirus for multiple reasons. So everyone does like wear a mask, and if you don't wear a mask, you get fined like a ton of money. I don't know, like $1,000 or more, like a ton of money. So you really have to be sure to wear your mask everywhere, and also people will give you dirty looks if you don't, because like there have been once or twice where I forgot and I just like walked out of the building with no mask and I was like, oh my gosh. So then I ran to like the convenience store, because there's convenience stores everywhere that have a ton of different masks that you can buy, but you can't go in without a mask. So I would have to ask like my friend to go in for me and buy me a mask, and then I put it on and be like, okay, I'm fine. So the different types of masks that they have are, I think, a lot better at preventing the coronavirus. I mean, a ton of people wear those KF94 masks, and that's what I wore a lot of the time too, and they work really well against preventing the coronavirus. They're supposed to be pretty comparable to the KN95s, so I think that helps a lot, just the type of mask that people are wearing there, and they really do follow the rules because you kind of have to. And then they notify you on your phone, like they send out like kind of like an Amber Alert if something happened, like there's a new case near you or something like that. They will always notify you, which is really helpful. Or they also notify you if there's a new rule in place, like you can't stay out past a certain time. And mine were like in Korean. I don't know if you can change that, but I'd always get like the news from someone else who could read those messages. And you'd find out like one way or another because everyone kind of knew what the rules were, which is a lot better than America's system because I don't really know what the rules are a lot of the time. So you could go out to a lot of different places. When I was there, I could go out to cafes for the most part. At one point they did like close a lot of the cafes, and then for most of the time while I was there, like you couldn't be out past like 9. They would like close down shops past like 9 or something. And then when you did go out to a restaurant or something like that, they'd always have like a log that you'd sign, or you could get like the Neighbor app, which has a personalized QR code that you scan, and then you don't have to sign the sheet. But this sheet just shows like your name and then your phone number, so make sure that you do have a Korean phone number for other reasons too, because if you have a Korean phone number you can order food. It's great. So your name, your phone number, like what area in Korea you're from, and I think that was about it. So it was really quick. Yeah. And speaking of ordering food in Korea, the ordering system is fantastic. Me and my friends would order food quite often. We get like pizza or Indian food or kimbap, different things. So they have a ton of different like ordering apps, and usually like delivery charges are like $2 or $3. So it's super cheap compared to like here in America where Postmates is so expensive. But I think it's just because like the way Korea is built, the subway stations are gonna be better, and the delivery service, because everything's so like close together. And then like the delivery service is a lot of people on like little motorcycles, so it's a lot cheaper and a lot quicker. Going into like food I liked in Korea, I would go to the market to get like snacks and avocados because I love avocados, and I would be sad if I didn't have avocados. But food and like fresh produce could get pretty pricey there. So sometimes it was just better to like go out and eat at a restaurant. I really liked the pizza there, especially the goguma pizza. It's probably not for everyone, but I thought it was really good. I liked their pasta. They'd always actually have like really good pasta. I don't think I had a bad pasta while I was there, and it was cheaper than America. They had like shrimp rosé, was fine. So if you're planning on going to Korea, I recommend that you try a couple different pasta restaurants. They were really good. What else? Indian food was actually not bad when I was there. I ordered that in quite often in like the colder months. And obviously there's Korean food everywhere, so you can go to any Korean restaurant and it should be good. And especially sunbu, like I hadn't realized it when I was here, but the sunbu in Korea is so much better. It's so much better. So do get some like good soups. What else? As far as what to do with your friends, in the beginning of staying at Yonsei, we went to like Namsan Tower and did like more touristy things. We went to Hangang a lot and just like played music on a speaker, so if you have a speaker, do bring it. And we just like lay out mats or something and just kind of chill. It was really nice, and then we'd come back to Yonsei. We also went out and got like boba or got food a lot together. And then during a break, like a long weekend or Thanksgiving break, we took a couple trips. So we went to Sokcho and then Busan. And those were so much fun. So we just like got an Airbnb and then split it between us, and it wasn't all that expensive. And also if you just want to like go away for the weekend or something, like the SK Global dorms as well as the international dorms at Yonsei do have a lot of like rules and restrictions. So you can't be in like a friend's room, and you can't be on your friend's floor past like a certain time. They're like really strict rules that you have to abide by, which can be a little bit not fun. So if you want to go somewhere, you can get together like a group of 5, 6, whatever amount of people, and ask them if they want to like split an Airbnb with you, and then that's really fun. If you split the price among like enough people, it's usually like $25-$30 per person, so that's not too bad if you just like want to do something fun for the weekend. And then you can hang out with your friends at night, and it's like a giant sleepover. So yes, some fun things, like I also really liked going into like Hongdae, and I liked going to the Watercolor Cafe. So I only went there once with my friend, and it was really fun. I love to paint and like draw, so it was perfect. It was a little bit further, I forget exactly where it was, but it was called Peach Gray. I do recommend if you're into drawing. Where else did I go? Just like shopping in Korea. I got really excited when I first got there, but there are some things that you shouldn't buy. So I got kind of a lot of clothes, and coming back to America, I was like, some of them I'm like, why did I buy this? It's so ugly. Like, it looks different when you're in Korea, because like I'd wear it there and I'd be like, yeah, I'm in style, this is fantastic, let's go. But coming back, it just doesn't really fit the aesthetic here. But I do not regret buying sweatshirts there because they're cheaper and they came in like cute colors, and I actually do still wear them quite often. What else? Just like basics. They have cute like sweater vests if you're into that. They have good like turtlenecks and button downs that are honestly not like bad quality and of a good price. So oh, it's also really fun to go shopping in like Hanok villages. So we went to Iksan-dong, which was so much fun. So if you like shopping, go there. They have lots of good souvenirs and like clothes, accessories. Go. Now some random advice about just like things I didn't expect when going to Korea. So I did gain like a couple pounds, but that was like expected because I was in like a new place, and I usually cook my meals when I'm at home, and we went out to eat a lot when we were in Korea. So if you go out to eat a lot at home though, I feel like the food in Korea is overall more healthy, so you could possibly lose weight. I just did not. The food is cheaper in Korea, so that's great. Like if you go to a kimbap place, it'll be like $3 or something, and the cafeteria area downstairs near SK Global is pretty fairly priced, so yeah. Something that was really unexpected that happened to me when I was in Korea was I did lose a lot of hair, and some of my friends who came from like America also lost hair. I don't really know what that was about, but I do have like a couple ideas as to why that happened. So one of them being just like I'm a little bit iron deficient, and I know that can make you lose hair, so I wasn't like taking iron supplements when I was in Korea. So make sure that you are getting all your vitamins in, and because like you're eating different foods and stuff, that you're kind of accounting for that. But this doesn't really make sense because my friend who is also from America lost hair as well, so I think it could be because of the cold. I'm not 100% sure. It could be because of just like stress of being away from home. I don't know, but just be aware that that might happen. But since being home, I have been trying to grow it back, and it's been growing long. I don't know if it's getting thicker, but I think it is a little bit. I hope. Yeah, random things. What else? Oh, and then maybe shampoo. So I was using a different shampoo when I was in Korea. So maybe look up a good shampoo for you and do your research. And then also try to look for brands you're familiar with, maybe. Also, I didn't come to Korea like in K-pop or Korean music in general, but like after a month or two there, I was like only listening to Korean music, and it's everywhere, and it's a big part of like the young culture. So if you want to make friends, that's an easy way to like talk to people. You bond over music groups, and it's honestly like a lot of fun liking them. So yeah, just embrace it if you haven't already. So I think that's about it for my video today. If you have any more questions, just leave them below and I'll try my best to answer them. Yes, I highly recommend going. So thanks for staying tuned. Make sure to like and subscribe down below, and then follow me on Instagram at rachel.huang3. Yeah, bye!